So you've done the work and you have a lot of empathy and love for your inner child. It's beautiful. How are you doing with finding empathy and love with you of last week, or with your inner 25-year-old, your inner 35-year-old? I think that those are some aspects of doing the work that tend to get kind of sidetracked and lost. And it's really important as we are integrating all of these versions of ourselves into a more evolved version of ourselves. When we talk about self-love, there's a lot of different ways to understand that. It kind of sounds hokey, and people tend to think of it just as about taking baths or putting on lotion, which are, nobody's saying don't do that. Do that. But really, it's about loving all of the parts of ourselves, and especially the ones that are hard to love. I like to sometimes set an intention with myself of finding new parts of myself to love. You know, it's easy to look back and be like, oh, 35-year-old Leah, so cringe. Why were you doing that? And maybe, but how can I soften that? How can I find some grace for understanding that 35-year-old Leah was trying to stay safe? 35-year-old Leah was making choices that seemed right at that time. And the more that we can empathize with those parts of ourselves, the less we are inclined to continue to repeat those patterns, the less we're inclined to stay locked in unhealthy dynamics, because it's in the seeing of the patterns in ourselves, acknowledging, accepting, integrating, that then we can break free. And loving ourselves means finding that love and empathy for all of it. It doesn't mean we need to love our behaviors and we need to condone our behaviors, but at the same time, how can we understand? How can we make peace with those parts? And, you know, I like to think of this as kind of the bottom up aspect of self-love, is looking for the difficult parts of ourselves to love. And it's not always just from childhood. It's often last week, this morning, 10 years ago, that we get tripped up. But it's in the softening, in the empathy, that then we can move forward anew. We can evolve out of those versions of ourselves that we think are cringe, because we can understand them more. And then the top-down version of self-love, which I was referencing with the baths and the lotions, it's also a very important way to get to self-love. I often explain to friends and clients that I think that through using will and through using behaviors, we can kind of be signaling to ourselves that we are worthy of care. And for many of us, our self-love kind of got lost in some version of care, in not feeling cared for either emotionally or physically. And so doing those things that help us to be our inner parent and to care for ourselves, whether it's making a nice meal or resting when we need to rest, it's really creating, you know, new patterns within ourselves around how we see our own personal worth and value, and that we are deserving of that care. We're deserving of that care. So I hope you can have a nice moment of acknowledging and giving a little love to some of those more crunchy parts of your humanity that might feel embarrassing, might have some shame around, but that are worthy of being seen and understood, and understanding why those behaviors were keeping us safe, but perhaps actually keeping us further from what we're truly looking for in life, that deeper acceptance of ourselves and others, deeper connections, and, you know, all of the beauty.